I know the game they're playing. There was this stupid video that is in circulation. You know that they can't attack ESN. They can't. They have no moral ground. But I'm sure they gave money to some idiots and gave them guns to say they are Biafran army. I don't know if the game they're playing. There was this stupid video that is in circulation. You know that they can't attack ESN. They can't. They have no moral ground. But I'm sure they gave money to some idiots and gave them guns to say they are Biafran army. I don't know if they're up to 6 or 7 of them, which is a lie. It's the DSS creation. So they can have justification to say to Biden or the US ambassador, can you see they now have Biafran army? We can now move in to attack them. Anybody, if you are involved in that video, take a walk. You want to give Fulani Janja with the reason to invade our land. That's what you're doing. But we shall get to that later. Anybody involved in the circulation of that video is a gunner. I'm telling you the truth. And those that made it. That is how people behave because they don't understand the game plan of the Fulani. People are very foolish. Fulani will come to you and want to use you and you succumb because you have greed, envy, and jealousy inside you. Which one again is Biafran army? I'm asking you. From where? How many people? The day I will bring out the Biafran army, we number over 200,000 standing. Reserve is over 1 million. Some bunch of idiots somewhere because you are serving your Fulani Janjaweed masters. We will get hold of all of you. Check out Uno. We know the bad eggs when we see them. We warned people against voting for Buhari in 2015 when he was still alive. The same Buhari died in 2017. People, all of you know that Buhari is dead. Today he's young, tomorrow he's old. You see his hand is fresh today, tomorrow. Nobody knows who is who anymore. All of you are there, but because it's the turn of your village. Your brother is a senator. Your sister is a House of Reps member. You don't want to lose that money that is coming in every day. You come out on social media and you're talking rubbish all the time. Because you're a black person. You don't understand. There is something called economies of scale. Some of you cannot reason very well. You claim you went to school. Sometimes I wonder the type of lecturers you had in your useless schools that you went to. I wonder, honestly speaking. Because you and your family, you are benefiting. Somehow you think that life is okay for you. Because of the level, or should I say the poverty of ideas inside you. Any day your relative goes into the farm, the Fulanis will kill them. All you can do is to lament. Say things are bad, though, and you go and you sleep. And nothing is done about it. It was I am very, very grateful to Almighty Elohim that the courage today that you have in Yoruba land is because of ESN. The courage of Amoteku to say no to Fulani is because of ESN. Because of Eastern Security Network. That is why they found the courage to say no to Fulani. If not, they will not do it. After all these years, without the should I say all these months, without the coming of ESN, has Amoteku said we are going to flush out Fulani headsmen from our bushes? Never. It's because they saw us, they have seen us doing it. They said, oh, we might as well do the same thing as well. In order to it's called the pincer movement, to cut us off. They got some people, I don't know whether maybe in Olu or whatever, got them together, gave them, say, we are Biafran army, a few idiots. They are shooting gun, we are Biafran army. Inside somewhere. Did we tell you that we have formed the Biafran army? We said when we form it, the world will know that we have come. I don't hide anything. If you claim you are behind any useless group calling themselves Biafran army, show your face because I'm showing my face on video. I claim ownership of ESN, not ownership of course. I can claim responsibility for ESN. Can you claim the same thing for Biafran army? If you claim you're a human being, that's it's all the handiwork of DSS. Mad people every idiots everywhere. Africans and lack of discipline. You don't have discipline. You don't have discipline. That was why the white man came and conquered you, because you lack discipline. After the white man must have finished with you, Fulani came from Senegambia because you have no brain. Lack of discipline. Every idiot thinks they can lead. They don't know what leadership entails. Every monkey thinks, oh, maybe if we have it. Nobody is funding IPOB ESN. It's only IPOB that's funding it worldwide. If you think you can bring 2 or 3 people together with a few rifles, and because of that, you can start calling for funds, you are wasting your time. You don't know our people. They won't give you a dime. Fulani is making use of your brain. You cannot say it. They come to you, oh, why don't you fight Yoruba? Oh, Yoruba is against Igbo. Igbo is against Yoruba. Fight each other. The same thing they did in the constitution of Biafra land.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, great and wonderful people of Biafra, great and wonderful people of Africa. I greet you and I welcome you to this program. While you are joining us, share the video, invite others to join wherever you are watching from. Are you watching on YouTube, on Facebook? Share the video and invite others to join. Of course, we are here once again. We are live and direct. We are live and we are direct. It is 20th of September, Wednesday the 20th of September 2023. The time stands on 6 minutes before the top of the hour. If you are in Biafra land, it is 6 minutes before 9 o'clock in Biafra land. So we are live and direct. Anywhere you are around the world, it is not 6 minutes. It is now 3 minutes before the top of the hour, rather. It is 3 minutes before the top of the hour. Wherever you are watching from. 3 minutes before the top of the hour. Great and wonderful people of Biafra, great and wonderful people of Africa. There are a lot of things that have taken place in this week that we are, such as hunger program in the United Nations Assembly. We all know that there is a program going on right now, in United Nations Assembly called hunger program. And so many, different African leaders are speaking in that program. Different African leaders addresses the world in that program. So we are going to be talking about some of the address that was done in the program. Of course, the main important issue that we have here, it is the picture you are seeing in front of you. In the picture you are seeing in front of you, you will see a man called Bukechua. Bukechua is back on our screen. You will see the other lawyer. It is the wife of Bukechua. The wife of Bukechua is a judge of appeal court. Was a judge of appeal court. On the other hand, you see the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the president of Nigeria. However, we all know very well that these people, we know the issue about these people. And before we actually move on, before we go further, there is a very important message that I want to remind the world before we move on. Share the video, because I know that Facebook will try to do what they do best, but if we share the video, we will override the algorithm. Now, let me show you something. I want to read this thing. I want to read because I want the world to know that What we preach here every day is nothing but the truth. That is the reason why I want to read this article, this piece. And I want you to listen and pay attention to the article. It is very, very interesting one. So as you are reading the article, pay attention. All right, now let us read. Let us read. I am going to use it as a preamble before we proceed. Look at it. How Britain's Labour government facilitated the massacre of Biafrans in Nigeria to protect its oil interest. Facebook. Once they hear these names from the West, you know, they get shocked, or they will. It looks like algorithm is very, very scared of me. Whenever I come online, if I mention anything from Britain, from Europe, from the US, the algorithm will just pull out, you know, people at once. Let's continue to read. It shows we are doing something. Listen to this. How Britain's Labour government facilitated the massacre of Biafrans in Nigeria to protect its oil interest. I am reading this from where? I am reading this from Daily Maverick. Daily Maverick. That's where I am reading from. On the 50th anniversary of the end of Biafra War, the world's worst humanitarian crisis in the late 1960s, the classified British file showed that Harold Wilson's government secretly armed and backed Nigerians' aggression against secessionist region. Just one moment, let me scroll. The then Labour government secretly provided large quantities of arms to the Nigeria federal government, which by early 1970 had crushed an attempt by the country's eastern region of Biafra to gain independence, which it had declared in May 1967. During the 3 years of war, up to 3 million people died as Nigeria enforced a blockade on Biafra, causing widespread starvation amid considerable international opposition to the conflict. British policy was mainly shaped by its oil interests. Declassified government documents from the time show our direct interest. Direct interests are, okay, let me just read it again. Declassified government documents from the time shows our direct interest are trade and investment, including an important stake by Shell BP in the eastern region. The Foreign Office noted a few days before the outbreak of the war in 1967. Investments by Shell BP, then a joint company in Nigeria which was partly owned by the British government, amounted to around £200 million. At the time, the company was largest producer of oil in Nigeria, most of which was in Biafra land. Shall have much to lose if the FMG federal military government do not achieve the expected victory. George Thomas. Have you now seen? We are reading. This is the story of our lives. This is where we always come out and we tell you that the activities of Britain against Biafra people has never been a good history. The history of Britain, how Britain wanted to send us into extinction, how Britain wanted to destroy us just because they wanted our oil. That's all. That is a very, very important news that I am actually giving to you, because if you look at what is written here, it is the history of Biafra life that they do not want you to understand. And this is them confirming the activities of their people against Biafra. This is them. Confirmation of what we've been fighting about. This is to show that everything that we are doing and everything we are continuing doing and everything we did has been all for the life, safety, all for the right to life. That was what has, that is what we've been doing all these years, to protect and preserve our right to life. Britain, when we talk about Britain being the ones who orchestrated the war in 1967, Britain being the ones who actually armed Nigeria for the war in 1967 against Biafrans, that took the life of more than 3.5 million women and children. That is what I am reading here. That is exactly what I am reading here. And this was extracted, I believe, from BBC somehow. But let us continue. Let me start from here so that we will understand what we are talking about. Shall have much to lose if the FMG, Federal Military Government, do not achieve the expected victory. George Thomas, Labour's Commonwealth Minister, noted in August 1967, he added, the sole immediate British interest in Nigeria is the Nigerian economy should be brought back to a condition in which our substantial trade and investment in the country can be further developed, and particularly so we can regain access to important oil installations. Are you listening? That is what Britain wanted. And this is the reason why they asked Gowon, do not agree to the Aburi Accord. Because when you agree, they know very well that had Gowon agreed in Aburi Accord, there will be no war in 1967. Had Gowon, who is still alive today, ready to die, knowing the truth, knowing that he killed people in Biafra land, he killed, people extrajudiciously. He committed genocide against our people by the order of Britain, just because of the oil coming out of Biafra land. That is the reason why Mazen Nnamdi Kanu will always tell you, if not for the coming of IPOB, all of you would have lived and died in the ignorance that Ojukwu caused a war. Because that is what Gowon started doing on his interview. Saying that Ojukwu was the aggressor. Ojukwu sent people to war. When Gowon was the one who was naive, that he allowed Britain to use him to go out there and kill Biafrans. He killed Biafrans. Britain gave him a whole lot of weapons to use them to destroy us and send us into extinction, to make sure we do not exist, so that Britain will actually take over our land for them to protect their oil exploration in our land. That was what Britain wanted. And I am not the one saying it. This is them speaking about it. This is them saying it. This is declassified information. Declassified information. I want you to let us continue to read. The sole immediate British interest in Nigeria is that Nigerian economy should be brought back to a condition in which our substantial trade and investment in the country can be further developed. They must be brought back to a condition. So, had it been you had this thing called devolution, if you had devolution, it means that everybody governs the economy. Britain will not actually, have access to anywhere, because the central government is not governing. Because the only thing Britain had access to was the central government. Had it been that proposal in Aburi was done at that point in time, there will be no massacre, there will be no war. So Ojukwu the Gowon remained the aggressor, while Ojukwu remained the victim. So Britain, because they wanted to recondition the economy of Nigeria, that it favors her, Britain, more than it favors Nigeria. That's why they say bringing back to condition in which substantial trade and investment in the country can be further developed, which is investment and trade that Britain is doing in Biafra land will enable them that they may also use it to develop their own place. That is the reason why the life of more than 3.5 million women and children was British sacrifice in order to achieve their aim towards material things. That was there. No question asked. But today, tomorrow, they will tell you someone is a war criminal. They will tell you Putin is a war criminal. But no one is being held to account as per the war crime committed on our people. Why not? Because Britain is the one in charge. Now let us continue to read. And particularly so we can regain access to important oil installations. That is the reason why they must bring back the reconditioning of Nigeria economy by making sure that Biafra stays in Nigeria. Because they know that Biafra is the one owning the oil. And that is the reason why they brought the amalgamation, because they could not control Biafrans. They brought the amalgamations so that they will use through Nigeria to control Biafra. That's exactly what they did. Now let's continue. And Nigeria still believed that the amalgamation was to solve the budget deficit of the North and the West. It is not true. It is to solve British budget deficit, not yours. You have resources there that they have been exploiting without anybody knowing about it. Let us continue. UK supplies of arms, which eventually enabled the Nigeria government to win the war. Did you hear that? If not that UK supply the arms, it will never enable Nigeria government to win the war, including millions of rounds of ammunition. Millions of rounds of ammunition. Millions of rounds of ammunition. Hundreds of machine guns and grenades. Thousands of mortar and artilleries, bombs, aircraft, and armored personnel carrier. Did you see what Britain gave to Nigeria? To kill us. And they make sure that they barricade any means we are going to use to access our own weapon. They were fighting us. We were fighting Nigeria with bare hands. That was exactly what it looks like. And at the end of the day, we held them. We almost win the war until Britain decided that they will block food supply. They blocked food supply. Our people started dying like flies. Women and children. Which I know that my grandmother died and my supposed uncle died in that war. And the story was told long time ago. I always remember it just like it was yesterday. So, in that war, Britain orchestrated it just because of oil. Have you now seen how they value material things over human life? And you are in Nigeria, you believe that British love you. You are in Nigeria, you believe that everything you are doing with Britain, it is about you benefiting anything from them. They value what they benefit from you more than your life. Whether they say they are bringing you visa application center, it is not for your value, for your benefit. Because anything they are doing, they have planned exactly what is going to be the benefit. I want, when we are reading this, remember the visa application they are bringing to you in Enugu. Instead of granting us our freedom that we are asking them for, they are bringing you a visa application to rub salt on our wounds. That's exactly what they are doing. Let us continue to remind them. They are the ones who wrote it. Their activities, British activities against Biafra. UK supplies of arms, which eventually enabled the Nigerian government to win the war, including millions of rounds of ammunition, hundreds of machine guns, grenades, thousands of mortar and artillery bombs, aircraft, and armored personnel carrier. We should also check whether there is a biological weapon that these people supply to Nigeria, because there is a reason why I am actually investigating that as well. Maybe there was a biological weapon which is affecting those our politicians that made them, you see them, they don't reason, they don't actually, go back to the history to understand how important it is that those people who died did not die for nothing. They died that they may live, but they died that these criminals may live to go and join force with the enemy, to continuously oppress their remnants. So that is exactly what you see going on. The supplies were massively stepped up while Labour Prime Minister Harold Wilson, did you see that? That was the man. Harold Wilson was telling Parliament that Britain was supplying arms to Nigeria at the same level as before. He made the false claim that there was no special provision for the war. He made the false claim that there was no special provision for the war. The decision to supply arms and ammunition were taken at a time when it was clear they were being used against civilians. They supplied it knowing that they were being used against civilians. War crime. The highest war crime ever happened in century. The highest war crime that has ever happened in century. Wilson's agreement to supply patrol boat in 1967 was done in the knowledge that this would help the government maintain the sea blockade against Biafra. Did you see? That's what they did. Declaration of war. The Nigeria government under General Yakubu Jack Gowon, who had seized power in a military coup in July 1966, he came in as a military coup leader, which was well orchestrated by the same man in Britain. Began military operation to defeat the Biafran secessionists in July 1967. His well-equipped federal army of over 85,000 men supplied by Britain and the Soviet Union, among others. Have you now seen that every history that we've been telling you, how, Russia was also, dragged into supplying Nigeria even the weapons to kill Biafrans. That is here. Let me read it again. His well-equipped federal army of over 85,000 men, supplied by Britain and the Soviet Union, among others, took on a volunteer Biafran force under Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Ojukwu, the military government of the Eastern region, much of whose equipment initially came from captured Nigerian supplies. Did you see that? We started the war with the captured Nigerian supplies. For you to see that Nigeria is nothing. Nigeria is nothing. We fought them bare hands with this British artilleries. It still led them to go and barricade food supply. They block food supply so that people will start dying, because they have seen that we are not giving up and that we are moving. That was the only way they were able to make us drop the weapon. They know. They are well aware. Because what they did in 1967 will never repeat itself. This is 21st century. That is the reason why we continue to say that we are looking for every possible mean to achieve what we are looking for. We are looking for every mean possible to achieve what we are looking for. And we know definitely that we are going to achieve it. If they do not want to do it in peace, we are ready to go to another war. Because if you look at it, more than how many millions women and children died, sacrificed for the sake of British material things, our oil. And Britain, we are crying today about their oppression through Nigeria. We are complaining about their killing extrajudiciously. Britain does not want, they don't even care. They don't even care. They actually had to sell Mazen Nnamdi Kanu to the enemy, just because they still want that oil flow to continue flowing. That is exactly the reason why we have said we are exploring every peaceful means to get our freedom, because we must get that freedom in which these people died for. We will give it to them. They will be remembered in Biafra land, because where they are today, they are not being remembered enough. And it is only we will honor their spirits in Biafra land. They lived and died for the cause, for freedom. And that is the reason why we are telling Britain and the Nigeria, Nigeria who is the proxy of Britain. We are telling them, or will I say their Nigeria counterpart, to give us Biafra, because we must have Biafra. It is our nation. It is where we come from. And regardless of anything, we are going to march into Biafra land. All this sabotage, all these killings that they are orchestrating, that they are killing, their soldiers, that they are killing themselves, all of them will never stop us. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, of course, made it clear that we do not have army. The day we will march, the day we will, unveil Biafra army, it will be more than 200,000. A million will be a reserve. It does not move us. Do everything you are doing. The day we will say, we are tired of your, delay. We are tired of British manipulations. we will take it to another level, and nothing will stop us. What you are seeing now is all your plans in order to, stop us before we even begin. That's why they are going about killing police, burning police cars, burning them alive. It will not stop us. We haven't begun. The day we will begin, the whole world will be on notice. So stop this shenanigan of you people, that what you people are doing, using police and army on the road as a just to sabotage what we are doing. They should stop it. Have you seen how the extent Britain is willing to go to make sure that they actually, achieve their interest, they achieve their plan in Biafra land? They are willing to go dirty. So you see, when I used to tell you what is you see fighting the agitation and IPOB, there is a Western agenda. You believe it is all about I am talking rubbish. But let us continue to read. Let's continue to read. His well-equipped federal... Okay, now I think I jumped too much. Or let me start there. His well-equipped federal army of over 85,000 men, supplied by Britain and Soviet Union among others, took on a volunteer Biafran force under Lieutenant Colonel Ochukwuemeka Ojukwu, the military government of the eastern region, much of whose equipment initially came from the captured Nigerian supplies. In the run-up to Gowon's declaration of war, British official made clear to the Nigeria government that they supported the country unity. Labour Minister George Thomas told the Nigeria High Commission in London in April 1967, for example, that the federal government had our sympathy and our full support, but hoped the use of force against the East could be avoided. Britain initially refused Gowon's request for military support to target Biafran ports. Okay? By June 1967, however, the new British High Commissioner in Lagos, Sir David Hunt, wrote in a memo to London that the only way of preserving unity, SIC, of Nigeria is to remove Ojukwu by force. He said the Biafran leader was committed to remaining the ruler of the independent state of reiterated that UK interest lay in firmly supporting the federal government. On 1 July 1967, Gowon asked Britain for jet fighter and bomber aircraft, 6 fast boats, and 24 anti-aircraft guns. Britain rejected the aircraft and boat, but agreed to supply the anti-aircraft guns. The Deputy High Commissioner in Enugu, Biafran's main city, noted that the supplying the anti-aircraft gun will be seen as the British backing for the Gowon regime, and they could also take on an offensive role if mounted in an invasion fleet. The British government news department was instructed to stress the defense nature of these weapons and to avoid publicity on their exports. Did you hear that? To avoid publicity. To avoid publicity on their export. Why do they need to avoid publicity on their export? Because they know it is a war crime that they were going to commit. They knew it is a war crime that they were going to commit. That's why they smuggled these weapons and avoided publicity. These were the same people who were actually, this is the same Western countries who were actually calling and saying that South Africa was secretly supplying weapons to Russia. The reason why they have, now it makes sense, the reason why they could come to terms or come to conclusion as such, because they believe that everyone plays their game. That was why they believe that everyone plays their game. See, everything that these people accuse you of, they are, as in Afionya na Azuko na Mambo Jaga. They are aware that this is how they roll. They now want to use it to act like they are more intelligent, that they mount satellite everywhere that sees every activities, including when you are in bed with your wife. That's exactly what it looks like that they are doing. But it is a lie. They exaggerate. They are doing it based on their own antecedent. That's why they will be able to suspect people from doing the wrong thing. That is the reason why they were able to suspect Iraq and they invaded Iraq. That is the reason why they were able to tell you that Gaddafi did this, they invaded him. That is the reason why they invaded many countries and destroyed the country. Even today, the destructions still ravaged those countries. Look at it. On 1 July 1967, Gowon asked Britain for jet fighter and bomber aircraft, 6 fast boats and 24 anti-aircraft guns. Britain rejected the aircraft and boat, but agreed to supply the anti-aircraft guns. The Deputy High Commissioner, the war hasn't started yet, the Deputy High Commissioner in Enugu, Biafra main city, noted that the supplying the anti-aircraft guns would be seen as British backing for the Gowon regime. See, this is the way they wanted Tinubu to go to war with the Niger Republic. They will tell you that this is a backing. They will tell you they will be secretly pushing that war. They will come to the mainstream and act like they don't want war. They will be saying, I settle it in peace. Use diplomatic move. But they will be, underground, staging the war. If it never happened to us, we won't be able to know. But this is a born of experience that we are able to say this. Listen very attentively. They could also take on an offensive role if mounted in an invasion fleet. Now, the British government news department was instructed to stress the defense nature of these weapons and to avoid publicity on their export from Britain. High Commissioner Sir David Hunt said that it would be better to use civil aircraft to deliver these guns and secure agreement from Nigeria that there would be no publicity. Why would there be no publicity? Because they want to kill Biafrans. If they were doing something that is, that is in line with the law, if they were doing something that is in line with the law, international law and treaties, they will not say that they want to make it not to be, seen. They will not do it in secret. But because they know that their activities in Nigeria against Biafra is illegal, they went ahead and did it secretly. Now, every, Amnesty, or will I say United Nations, they have seen this. They have heard the information. What did they do about it? Nothing. That is now what we call selective amnesia. That's exactly what these people are doing. Selective amnesia. They are not, actually trying to, bring the criminals to book. But when you fight to protect yourself, they call you aggressor. They call you aggressor. That's how bad it is. They say that there will be no publicity. They even sign agreement with Nigeria so that there may be no publicity in supplying of those weapons to go and kill Biafra. Faced with Gowon's complaint about Britain not supplying more arms, Prime Minister Wilson agreed in mid-July to supply him with the fast patrol boats, in the knowledge they would help the government maintain the blockade against Biafra. Wilson wrote to Gowon saying that we have demonstrated in many ways our support for your government as the legal government of Nigeria, government of Kupo, government who went into through coup d'etat. They supported him, but today the coup d'etat in this Sahel region becomes a sin that they had to cut every support. Let us continue. They called him the legal government of Nigeria, and our refusal to recognize the secessionists. Wilson also told Gowon that Britain does not intend to put any obstacle in the way of orders for reasonable quantities of military materials of type similar to those you have obtained here in the past. Okay. By early November 1967, Nigeria government forces had pushed back the Biafrans and captured Enugu. Judge Thomas now called for a quick FMG victory. John Thomas called for a quick FMG victory and recommend that UK arms export policy towards Lagos be relaxed to ensure that outcome on 23 November 1967. The cabinet agreed that such a federal military victory provided the best hope for an early end to the fighting. They believe they provided early end to the fighting, to just go and kill quick everybody, and then we will restore their oil exploration back. The following month, Commonwealth Secretary George Thomas suggested that UK should agree to Gowon's shipping list for arms supplies. He wrote, anything that we now do to assist the FMG should help our oil companies to re-establish and expand their activities in Nigeria after the war. And more, have you now seen how Britain hold Nigeria for ransom? The military arsenals that they have given to Nigeria was not for free. They are using the oil of the victim of these military arsenals to pay for the favor they did to Nigeria. Do you understand it? They gave Nigeria weapons to kill us, to destroy Biafra land, so that they will use the oil in Biafra land to pay them back. Have you now seen what is going on? Britain is the one that is actually benefiting from the oil that is coming from Biafra land, not even Nigeria. Not even Nigeria. Because if you check, they will tell you that oil revenue or the oil GDP is 6%. 6%. Oil GDP, 6%. And they tell you it is the farming that is 40-something percent. Now, who is now benefiting from this oil in Nigeria? Because Britain now owns the oil that is in Biafra land. In our land, though, Britain owns it. Oh, no wonder Asaredok boy was invited to Asorok to speak. No wonder. No wonder. Let me read it again for the world to bear us witness by the time it will start. The following month, Commonwealth Secretary George Thomas suggested the UK should agree to go on shopping list for arms supply. He wrote, anything that we now do to assist the FMG should help our oil companies to re-establish and expand their activities in Nigeria after the war, and more generally, More generally should help our commercial and political relationship with the post-war Nigeria. Did you see that? They gain upper hand by making people to kill each other. They gain upper hand. As a result, Britain supplied 36 armored personnel carrier along with 2,000 machine guns for them, anti-tank guns, and 9 million rounds of ammunition. Dennis Hilley, the defense secretary, wrote that they hoped these supplies would encourage the Nigerians to look to the United Kingdom for their future purchases of defense equipment. By mid-1968, Britain had supplied 15 million rounds of ammunition, 21,000 mortar bombs, 42,500 howitzer rounds, 1,950 rifles with the grenade launchers, 15,000 IBS of explosives, 500 submachine guns, 4,000 rifles, and 4 helicopters. These arms exports were secretly stepped up at a time when killings were being widely reported in the press. About 1,000 people of the Igbo ethnic group who predominated in Biafra were killed in Benin City by the local people with the acquiescence of the federal government forces. Wow. Benin City. The Benin. The New York Review noted in December 1967 a further 700 Igbo males were lined up and shot in town of Asaba in January 1968. The observers reported at that time, according to eyewitnesses, the Nigeria commander ordered the execution of every Igbo male over the age of 10 in the town. Emasculation. That's what they try to do to our people. Emasculation. Humanitarian suffering, especially starvation, was severe as a result of the federal government blockade of Biafra. Picture of starving and malnourished children went around the world, and the Nigeria government was widely seen to be engaging in atrocities against civilians, including apparently indiscriminate airstrikes in an increasingly brutal war. By the beginning of 1968, British files referred to death of between 70,000 to 100,000 people in the war. The Red Cross estimated there were around 600,000 refugees in Biafra and was trying to arrange supplies to meet needs, estimated at around 30 tons a day. Public and parliamentary pressure in Britain to hold arms export to Lagos was now rising, with 70 Labour MPs filing a motion for an embargo in May 1968. Yet the real extent of arms supply by Britain was concealed from the public by the government. They wanted, the good people in the MPs, the members of the parliament, the good people in members of the parliament were calling to lay an arm embargo against Nigeria so that they will stop supplying ammunitions to Nigeria, because they have seen the war crime committed up and down in Biafra land. Throughout 1967 and 1968, Labour minister told Parliament that Britain was essentially neutral in the conflict and was continuing to supply arms to Nigeria on the same basis as before the war. Wilson misinformed the House of Commons on 16 May 1968 that we have continued the supply of arms by private manufacturers in the country exactly on the basis that it has been in the past, but there there has been no special provision for the needs of the war. With the forces of Gowon's regime in control of Port Harcourt, Biafra's most important southern coastal city, by mid-1968, British officials noted that having gone this far in supporting the FMG, it would be a pity to throw away the credit we have built up with them, just when they seem to have the upper hand. They know that immediately if they will stop supplying of these weapons, that Biafra Gaelic Nigeria Kaji. They know that Biafra will win the war. That's why they say they will not let their effort, their evil agenda, what they have started to go down the drain. It doesn't matter if they will kill all Biafrans, as long as they get their hands on the oil and lay a pipe to go to Britain, sucking our oil. Britain could not hold to the supply of arms, since such an outcome would seriously put at risk about 200 million pounds of British investment in non-Biafra Nigeria. George Thompson explained to Harold Wilson, "It is all about their investment. That is the reason why I told you symbiotic relationship we have with Britain." Symbiotic. Psychological warfare. It was at this point that British officials sought to counter a widespread public opposition to the Nigerian government by helping it improve the presentation of its policies. British officials urged the Nigerian government to convince the outside world that it was not engaged in a genocide, and to suggest it backed a ceasefire and humanitarian access to Biafra land. Have you now seen? But go on, when you listen to the interview of that evil old man, when you listen to his interview, he will tell you Ojukwu was the aggressor. But they were doing all their, carnage in our land, and they were hiding it. BBC was on the ground, covering their carnage in our land. BBC could not actually expose it. They couldn't expose it. Now, let us continue. High Commission Hunt suggested to Gowon that the Federal Air Force be used for psychological warfare and to drop leaflets over Biafrans. What is leaflets? Let me find out, because I'm looking for a biological weapon. Let me see what is leaflets. So that we will know exactly what we are grappling with. So, they started dropping signs. For Biafra. They call it psychological warfare. They started dropping signs for Biafra. They call this psychological warfare. Something like it's a pamphlet. They called it psychological warfare, so that let us find out why they did that. Let us find out exactly the reason why they did that. Okay. High Commissioner Hunt suggested to Gowon that the Federal Air Force be used for psychological warfare and drop leaflets over Biafran towns, which would help the government score a propaganda point. Score a propaganda point. How? BBC. Who gave somebody a name? There was a name. Is it to British something propaganda? You know, that is exactly, did you see? They were scoring propaganda points. They were selling propaganda using, psychological warfare by dropping papers like pamphlets on places. Now, other officials noted that their support for Nigeria was under attack and that our ability to sustain it depends very much on implementing enlightened and humane federal policy and securing public recognition for them. They argued that what was needed was good and well presented Nigeria policy which permits that support to continue. That support to continue. The files indicate that the presentation issued were much more important to British officials than the suffering of Biafrans. Did you see that? The file indicate that the presentational issues were much more important to British officials than the sufferings of Biafrans. The Wilson government was mainly concerned that it would be forced by public pressure to withdraw or reduce its support for Gowon. It ruled out threatening to cut off or reduce arms exports, to press Nigeria government to change policy. By early August 1968, federal Nigeria forces had retaken most of the southeastern of the country, and the Biafrans were now confined in a small enclave, blockaded from the outside world. Labour's other Commonwealth Minister, Lord Shepherd, because they were doing all these things, they were going out there calling Biafrans aggressor. That is the reason why they were able to barricade or to do this, isolate Biafrans from the world. Harold Wilson saying that 14 months after Biafra declared itself independent, our support for the federal military government find us in the position in which we are on comparatively good terms with the side which is in an overwhelming advantageous position. The same month, the Red Cross estimated that 2.3 million people were in dire need, facing shortage of food and medical aid. Now, have you now seen that the Europeans can never be able to win Africa? The only way they are winning us is using us against us. It is using us against ourselves. If we refuse to be the stooge of these people, they will never win against us. They will never, colonize us. We will be equal in the world global stage. They knew that they will not be able to come and fight in order to establish their exploitation of our oil. That's why they had to use Nigeria to do it for themselves, to use Nigeria to do it on behalf of Britain. And Nigeria is still indebted. That's why you will never see an Igbo man becoming a president in Nigeria. That is the reason why you will never see a neutral person becoming a president in Nigeria. Because once a neutral person becomes a president in Nigeria, Britain will no longer have that upper hand. That is the reason why they will never allow it, because they are the ones in charge of Nigeria. The post-colonial, agreement, not the post-war agreement, rather. The post-war agreement. Gowon sold Nigeria fully to Britain after the war. That is one thing so many people don't know. Of course, they know. When they go into the position of power, they loot their own. They will just, after looting the country to ground, they will just, go to their own enclave and relax. But they knew what was going on. Even people like Obasanjo, they knew what was going on. They become presidents. they make themselves happy. They go and relax without actually, trying to destroy that thing, that stronghold. The Foreign Office again made clear its primary interest. The whole of our investment in Nigeria, and particularly our oil interest in the southeast and the Midwest, will be at risk if we change our policy of support for the federal government. Southeast. Our oil interest in the southeast and the Midwest will be at risk. Okay. If we will be at risk if we change our policy of support for the federal government. So without the federal government being their stooge, they will not function. They are not functional. Covert military supplies via Yemen. Have you seen how they actually started manipulating the supply? In November 1968, a group of parliamentarians in the Committee for Peace in Nigeria met Harold Wilson and urged him to hold arms sales and press for a ceasefire, estimating that there could be 2 million dead from starvation and disease by the end of the year. This is 1968, or 2 million dead, they estimated. Wilson rebuffed this plea and 2 days later agreed to supply Nigeria with aircraft for the first time in a covert deal, the files show. The Nigeria had long pressed Britain to supply jet aircraft, specially to attack the runway used by Biafrans forces for military purpose, but which were also used to deliver humanitarian aid. Wilson said that Britain could not supply this directly, but there were such aircraft in South Yemen and Sudan, previously exported by Britain. Wow. We are knowing them. The Nigerians, he said, should procure the aircraft from them which would not directly involve the British government. They should procure it from where? Yemen or African country called Sudan. The British company that arranged the deal was Airwork, which was later be used by the UK government to conceal its involvement in its covert war in Yemen. The British government also agreed to put the Nigerians in touch with suitable pilots. Wow. That's how. Let's see if it is how Egyptians came. British armed supplies were stepped up again later in the same month. Foreign Secretary Michael Stewart said that the Nigeria could have a further 40,000 more mortar bombs and 2,000 rifles. Some 36 million rounds of ammunition had also been supplied in the last few months alone. You may tell Gowon, Stewart instructed High Commissioner Hunt in Lagos, that we are certainly ready to consider a further application to supply similar arms in the future. He concluded, if there is anything else for the ground warfare, which you think they need and which would help speed up the end of the fighting. You see, what it is, for you to see how evil this Britain is, they were looking for any possible means to finish us so that they will go about their businesses. If there is anything to do to speed up the end of the war. So it means they could even supply nuclear weapon, if possible, if need be, to speed up the end of the war. Because, to speed up the end of the war so that they will finish it quickly. So that Britain will come and do their oil supply. Have you now seen that Britain wanted us to, they wanted to clean us from this planet Earth? But they will get, karma will actually get at them. Karma will get at them. That is obvious. Wow. Wow. If there is anything else for ground warfare which you think they need and which would help speed up the end of the fighting, please let us know. So, had Gowon say we want a nuclear weapon, Britain was going to give them nuclear weapon to kill our people. We'll consider urgently whether we can supply it. At the same time, the Foreign Office was instructing its mission around the world to provide disinformation about the extent of this arms supply. I am going to make this... It sent a memo to diplomatic post on 22 November stating that we wish to discourage suggestions that the Nigerians in their recent meeting with British officials were seeking to negotiate a massive arms deal. Rather, our policy of supplying in reasonable quantities arms of the kind traditionally supplied to Nigeria will be maintained, but no change in the recent pattern of supplies is to be expected. Now, resisting pressure. Okay. This is when they are resisting pressure. By the last 2 months of 1968, with the hundreds of thousands now dead, the fighting had reached a stalemate. The federal government had taken all Biafran territory, apart from small enclave consisting of the 3 million people in an area the size of the British county of Kent. Wow. Biafrans were dependent on 2 airstrips for outside supply, which were limited by both Gowon and Ojukwu's refusal to allow sufficient numbers of aircraft to land. Humanitarian agencies were continuing calls for a ceasefire as sufferings, especially as starvation had reached crisis proportion. However, Wilson told Gowon in November, we shall continue to maintain our present policy despite this heavy pressure on us. Foreign Secretary Stewart instructed Lord Shepherd on a visit to Lagos to tell Gowon of the extraordinary step Britain was taking to support him. Gowon should realize, Stewart said, that opposition to British policy cut right across the normal political or party division in the country, and is especially strong in the various churches. What? Gowon should realize, Stewart said, that opposition to British policy cut right across the normal political or party divisions in the country, and is especially strong in the various churches. Wow. 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 You know, what I am going to do about this document, I am going to make this document, I am going to actually keep it, because we are going to use this. We are going to use this the day it will happen in ICC. Now, he also said that a similar feelings is also expressed within the cabinet itself, suggesting that the British support for Nigeria was being provided on a very thin basis. The Wilson government was also keen to present itself as engaged in the search for peace. The files show that officials understood that a failure to appear to be active on this front made it harder to publicly justify their support for the Nigerian government. The British government policy sought to avoid the involvement of the United Nations in peace negotiation and was intended to support Nigeria to achieve a solution on its terms only. On its terms only. They were blocking the involvement of the United Nations so that Nigeria will do their own things in their own terms. And their own terms is British terms. That's what the British was able to achieve. They were blocking the involvement of the United Nations. Hi. Oh, Biafrans, we suffered. The government public statement consistently blamed the Biafrans. Did you hear that? The government public statement consistently blamed the Biafrans. But not the federal government for obstructing peace, negotiation, and the delivering of humanitarian aid. The government in Lagos feared that the Biafra would use the cover of humanitarian aid supplies to ship in arms deliveries, while the Biafrans believed the federal government would poison the supplies. Wow. The leaders of the both sides were responsible for the failure to deliver adequate humanitarian aid, but starvation of the Biafrans was no accident or simply a byproduct of war. It was deliberate policy of the Gowon regime. Wicked man. Gowon is a wicked, evil man that will not die well. No matter how many years he will live, he will never die well. He will never rest in peace. Even if he die, he will never rest in peace. He will not know peace. If you want to know peace, he should come and confess all his activities with Britain against Biafrans. Hi. One day, let if I nebu go on, Okali Bulia Bata Biafra land at that time, Okali, Ocho Biafru, Obi Mo State. That thing that carries go on like aeroplane, that he want to come and pray in Biafra land. Hey, God saved you. Had it been you came to Biafra land, I will also ginger for people to, catch you alive in Biafra land. I was going to, if I knew what I have known from these documents, I will call on people. I will also be in front for them to capture you because you are a criminal, a war criminal. No matter how old you are, you don't want to confess before you die because you will never rest in peace. By March 1969, Wilson continued to misinform the public that we continue to supply on a limited scale arms, not bombs, not aircraft, to the government of Nigeria because we have always been their supplier. Not only was this untrue as a result of the agreement late the previous year, on the very same day as this interview, the government approved the export of 19 million rounds of ammunition, 10,000 grenades, and 39,000 mortar bombs. A day before the Wilson interview, a Foreign Office official privately wrote that we have over the last few months agreed to supply large quantities of arms and ammunition to Nigeria to assist them in finishing the war in the absence of any further peace negotiations. He also noted that we have flown small arms ammunition to Nigeria using Manston Airport in Kent without attracting unfavorable press comments. It was perhaps no surprise that Gowon could write to Wilson in April saying that of all the governments in the Western world, yours has remained the only one that has openly maintained its policy of arms supply to my government. That's why I say you will never die well, Gowon. Wherever you are, you will never die well. Even if you die, you will know no peace. France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, among others, had all announced a hold while the US continued its policy of not supplying arms to either side. Two senior Royal Air Force officers secretly visited Nigeria in August 1969 to advise the government on how they could better prosecute the air war. The main British interest, the file makes clear, was not better protect. The files make clear was not better protect the oil installation, but the brief for the two officers stated that this impression should not be given to the Nigerians. The officers subsequently advised Nigerian commanders on the neutralization of the rebel airstrips. It was understood that destruction of the airstrips would put them out of use for daylight humanitarian relief. Although it is not clear whether the specific British advice was put into action. Sticking to our guns, which is the next one we're going. In the December 1969, just before the federal government's final push that crushed the Biafrans, Foreign Secretary Michael Stewart was still calling for the stepping up military assistance even further. The British supplies, he wrote, have undoubtedly been the most effective weapon in the ground war and have spearheaded all the major federal advances. When Biafrans resistance ended in the mid-January 1970, Wilson sent another private message to Gowon saying that your army has won a decisive victory and achieved your great aim of preserving the unity of the integrity of Nigeria. He added, as you know, I and my colleagues have believed all along that you were right, and we have never wavered in our support for you, your government, and your policy, despite the violent attacks which have been made on us at times in Parliament and in the press as well as overseas. The Deputy High Commissioner in Lagos added there is a genuine gratitude, as indeed there should be for what Britain has done and is still doing for this country, and in particular for Her Majesty's government courage in literally sticking to their guns over Biafrans. Her Majesty, you know who is Her Majesty? Queen Eliza. Late Queen Eliza. She is their Majesty who watched over the killing of Biafrans. She will not rest in peace. That one is obvious. Toll of the war was assessed in a report for the British High Commission at the end of the month. It mentioned that up to 2 million people were being fed with food relief supplies, around 700,000 of whom were refugees in camps dependent entirely on food aid. 3 million refugees were crowded into a 2,500 square kilometer enclave in Biafra, where not only food but medicine, housing, and clothing were in short supply. The Biafran's economy was shattered, cities were in ruin, the schools, hospitals, and transport facilities were destroyed. Mark Curtis, in an author and editor, declassified the UK, an investigative journalism organization that covers Britain's foreign, military, and intelligence policy. He tweeted at Mark Curtis 30. Follow Declassify on Twitter at Declassify UK. Those are the people, those are the kind people who decided to put this together after many years of investigation. They were able to bring this and put them together. You know, it is something. It is something. We appreciate them. Declassify. We appreciate them a lot because what they did here, it shows that there are still good people out there. There are still good people out there. Then that is to show you that Britain helped Nigeria because they don't mind if all of us died, so that they will have access to the oil exploration and their businesses that they have established, which is more important than the human life. This is what Britain did to us. That is why when Obama came to say to keep Nigeria one is a tax that must be done, it reminds us, it rubs salt into our wounds. Because these people you see, they know this story. They know everything that I have read here. Yet, to keep Nigeria as one so that Britain will continue to benefit with the, trading the blood of our people. No problem. Now, as if that wasn't enough, because the reason why I am reading this for you, so that you will understand that any day Biafra will rise up. The rise up of Biafra will be justified. It is not about this shenanigan of, this shenanigan that the agent of this Britain and Nigeria is doing. The day Biafra will rise up, we will burn down the zoo. The zoo will be on the ground. The day Biafra will rise up. We don't play games. Nigeria security forces killed 150 peaceful pro-Biafra protesters. This is reminding Nigeria. Nigeria security forces have killed more than 150 peaceful protesters. This is also exaggeration. It is exaggeration. Many of you will be able to guess which news channel that exaggerate like this. Protesters since August 2015 under Buhari, a human rights group has acclaimed. Amnesty International said the military used live ammunition and deadly force against pro-Biafra protesters who were campaigning for an independent state in the southeast. Nigeria police denies allegation that it used unnecessary force. The country's arm said Amnesty was trying to tarnish the reputation. Amnesty's report is based on interview with almost 200 people alongside more than 100 photographers and 87 videos. So there is a lot of evidence and alibis. Among the allegations contained in the report are what Amnesty called extrajudicial execution, when 60 people were shot and killed in southeastern Onitsha City in the 2 days surrounding Biafrans Remembrance Day in May 2016. This reckless and the trigger-happy approach to crowd control has caused at least 150 deaths, and we fear the actual total might be far higher, said Mahmoud Kamara, Amnesty Interim Director for Nigeria. Those were the people who speak the truth. Other victim details in the report include a 26-year-old man who was shot in Mbo but hid in a gutter, still alive. He said when soldiers found him, they poured acid over him. Now this one I am going to show you. No, let me not show you. Let me not scare you. It is quite scary. Let me not show you. It is quite scary. Let me not scare you. We remember all that. We remember all that. We keep it and we write it in our diary. Another woman says she had been speaking to her husband on a mobile phone when he told her he had been shot in the abdomen. He was calling from a military vehicle, she said, and she heard gunshot. She later found his body in a morgue with 2 wounds in his chest, leading her to believe he had been executed after the call. This is after the war. This is 2015. Oh, this is 2015. Okay, unimaginable atrocities. That is the one I'm going to read now. That is the title of what I'm going to read. The human rights organization said pro-Biafra protests had been largely peaceful, despite occasional incidents of protesters throwing stones and burning tires, and one occasion when someone shot at police. Regardless, this act of violence and disorder did not justify the level of force used against the whole assembly. I don't remember when Biafrans were protesting and shot at police. This is a lie. But army spokesman Sani Usman that the military and other security agencies exercise maximum restraint despite the fury of provocative and unjustifiable violence. Okay. The two maintain secessionist group in the southeast, the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, and the movement of the actualization of sovereign state of Biafra had committed unimaginable atrocities, he said. Criminal. He is a criminal, so he continued to say rubbish. They included burning and killing people from other parts of Nigeria and forcing them to flee. Cole Usman added, army officer who doesn't know anything. In the past year, there has been a series of protests to demand the creation of the state of Biafra in the southeast, home to the Igbo people. Prominent IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu has been detained without trial since October 2015, with the government defying a court order to release him. I've been now seen it is not today. 2015 it started. Now, the mention of Biafra continues to trigger powerful emotions in Nigeria and memories of the country's darkest chapter. Not the country's darkest chapter, the Biafrans' darkest chapter that we are going to bring light to very soon. In 1967, nationalists attempted to create the independent state of Biafra in the southeast. It was to be a homeland for the Igbo people, one of the country's largest ethnic group. But the bid for independence plunged the nation into a 3-year civil war that killed at least 1 million people. Underreporting, exaggeration. They are still lying. I don't want to mention this media house, but it is the one everyone knows how they lie. Almost 50 years on, and the bitterness of that period still lingers. Many Igbos claim they are still being punished for the conflict. Of course we are. In the past year, the anger has manifested itself in a younger generation who have staged a wave of protest, fueled in part by high unemployment and anger about the official corruption, issues that are hardly unique to the Igbos. But IPOB appear to have gained momentum after the Nigeria authority detained Mr. Kanu, accusing him of treason. And we continue to gain momentum. It is this heavy-handed approach, say human rights group, that is inflaming the tension, the heavy-handed approach. And they don't learn from their mistakes. They don't learn their lesson. They do not learn their lesson. That's the way it is. So as it stands now, I have read this for you so that you may know exactly what is triggering what is going on in Biafra land. The reason for the agitation, the reason that for our anger, the reason why we are angry and fighting for our freedom. This is exactly what is triggering all that. Because Britain decided to kill us so that they will have access to their businesses, that is in Biafra land and Nigeria, using owon. And there has never been a reparation done. Our people has been marginalized post the 1967 war. And when we protest, we are killed. Peaceful protest with a flag, we are killed. When they get you with a Biafra regalia, just like they did to Chiwetalago, a popular Nollywood actor, in 2021, they arrest you. They actually, embarrassed us, treated us like garbage, treated us like piece of crap, as if we don't belong here. Yet we decided, no, let us now live here since we don't belong here. They decided now to start killing people, jailing people, on extrajudicial killing, and then arbitrary detention, solitary confinement, extraordinary rendition. Nigeria started doing it because they have the backing of Britain. No matter how much crime they commit, Britain will clear them off. That is an evidence and a sign to show that even United Nations is not doing the job that it is established to do. They are not investigating what is going on. Or maybe whoever that is there is a ceremonial person, maybe. If they cannot do the job, because the truth is out in the open. It is out in the open. But nobody is actually asking questions. Nobody is being brought to book. This is what they wanted to use Nigeria to do against Niger Republic. They wanted to use Nigeria to destroy Niger Republic. If not that they saw that Mali and Burkina Faso said that they will back them up, they were going to go for it. Nigeria have no shame. Anything that will please their master, they will go for it. Anything that will please their European masters, they will go for it. If not the public backlash and the public opinions and the public outcry, they were going to go and go war against Niger Republic. Because they don't want any country in Africa to be free. And that is the reason why we continue to tell you that the freedom of Biafra will make Africa to be free, because now Nigeria is the setback in African continent. They call them biggest population, biggest economy, Africa giant. When they are, we can just say, the amalgamation gave them biggest population. The amalgamation. There is nothing that is truth about Nigeria, including the name. Nothing that is truth about Nigeria. Now, when you look at the activities of Nigeria, based on the picture that I have presented here, based on this picture, based on this picture, you will see this man called Bukachua. This man called Bukachua have called for total extermination of Ndibo. This man called Bukachua, the man in the glasses, look at him. The man wearing glasses, he had once called for the total extermination of Ndibo, total killing of Ndibo. Why? Bukachua. because Bukechua does not like Ndibo. Now, the same man was in court a few weeks ago, and the court discharged him. Why is court discharging him? Or why was he in court? The same man also said that he was influencing the judgment by the wife. The wife is a judge in appeal court. He narrated to the public how he was influencing it, how he was influencing the judgment of the wife. Maybe let me actually bring that so that you will understand exactly what we are talking about. How Nigeria do their selective judgment. Now let me read how court dismissed Bukachua's suit. Court dismissed Bukachua's suit seeking to stop ICPC from probing him. A federal high court in Abuja has dismissed a suit filed by Adamu Bukachua seeking to stop the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission ICPC from investigating him over the comment he made during his valedictory session of 9th National Assembly. In a judgment on Tuesday, Inyang Ekwo, presiding judge, he held that the suit lacked merit and ought to be dismissed. The Senate valedictory session in June, the former senator said he often encroached on his wife's space while she was in office. But Ahmad Lawan, the former Senate president who presided over the session, interrupted the senator before he spoke any further. Wow. They stopped him from exposing, it is old age actually that made him to start speaking like that, to start confessing. So if you see now how Nigerians, this is how Nigerians that are in position of power influences what happens in judiciary. That is exactly what Bukachua was actually telling the public in Nigeria. How they were influencing the judgment coming from the judiciary, coming from the judge, because the wife happens to be the judge. He influenced the verdict that the wife is giving in court. For how many years? Who knows how many people who must have suffered? That is an evidence to show that Nigeria judiciary has a problem. Nigeria judiciary has a problem. Nigeria judiciary is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Those are husband and wife you saw in those pictures. They are not doing what they're supposed to be doing to make sure that they give, they save the life of ordinary people. Everything they do is influenced by the executive, by the politicians. Everything that is gone through the judiciary of Nigeria. If eventually the judiciary decide that they will do a good job, the same politicians will come and make sure they do not allow the judiciary to do a good job. Just like at Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's case. They gave a verdict, Because they know that the whole world is watching. Remember that after they know that they could get judiciary, those people who are learned, they know that they could represent in the big stage. So they had to do what they had to do to protect their professions. They had to do the work within the ambit of the law in order to protect their profession and their dignity. That's why they were not manipulated by Nigeria politicians. But in so doing, Nigeria politicians have to interfere in order to make sure that this good judgment given by Nigeria judiciary is actually, placed in a limbo. That's exactly what they did. For you to see Nigeria, it is an evidence that Nigeria dictates what happens in judiciary. Nigeria can influence judges to do one or two because they actually put people in position through nepotism. So when they put you in position of judge through nepotism, they tell you what to do. But this Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's case, it is where Nigeria will finish go, and they will not remember corruption again. In Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's case, they will not remember corruption again in that judiciary, because we are going to expose them. We are going to expose them. Because everything we are doing here, we do it with fact and figure. We present evidence to whatever we are doing. We don't just come up and do it. So this is how it is. I am not going to go further. I am not going to go further. This man was the same man who called for the killing of Biafrans at some point. Bukechua. Eventually, if there was any Biafran that is or that was tried by the wife, what do you think that this man is going to tell the wife to do? He was going to tell the wife to jail this Biafra. Just jail him. Don't do it. Don't waste time. Jail him. Do you think a man like that who called for the total extermination of Igbo race will come and tell the wife from appeal court to do a work according to the law on the case that is actually concerning Biafran people? Maybe let me touch on what so that we will understand what we are saying, because ọ na-adịkwanụ mma atụfu nkịta akpịrị ka egosi aka afọ ịdị aka ịtụrụ ya mbọ. This same man, so that we will see exactly a man that hates Igbo people. His wife was a judge. He confessed that he influenced the judgment of the wife in court. Now let's see this. Let's hear this. Just this is the last one. We call it a day. Facebook has dealt with us today, but that's okay. That is okay. Now this was when Bukachua called for the killing of Igbos. Now the response given to him by IPOB. IPOB tackles Bukachua on bandits, Boko Haram kidnapping in the north. Now listen to the news. The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, yesterday accused Senator Committee Chairman on Foreign Affairs, Senator Adamu Bukachua from Bauchi State of inciting violence against Ndibo. IPOB, in a reply to Senator Bukachua on his alleged comment on a live program of Channel Television, that the Southeast is a home to criminals, rebels, and deserve to be eliminated. That is the words of Bukachua in national TV. That is the word of Bukachua in Channels TV. He said that our land is a land of home for criminals, rebels, and deserve to be eliminated, like they did with their British counterpart in 1967. Because these were the people who were present when this genocide was happening. Bukachua was present. He said we deserve to be eliminated. So when you think, do you think that this man who
I know the game they're playing, there was this stupid video that is
sorry for that. Sorry about that. Do you think or believe that this man who made such statement will come one day and you see that there is a Biafra or case of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu or case of any Igbo person in court? You think he will not influence the wife on how to handle that matter? To jail these people, to jail them without trial. That's exactly what he will influence. This is what Igbo people and Biafran people has been going through in Nigeria. Have you now seen the reason why we have called for the secession from Nigeria? Because we don't belong there. They never like us. Britain just brought us to exploit our oil while under Nigeria because they know that they cannot do it when we are on our own. They know what we are. They know we are Japan. Believe you me. Believe me. Engineers in Nigeria, if they look at engine of a car, they can manufacture it. They can manufacture that same engine of a car with their, nko. That is how we are. Had it been they allowed us since 1967, we were supposed to have gone far today. We will be manufacturing cars. We might even be manufacturing chips, all these microchips. We'll be manufacturing them. We will be part of it. We will be part of that program. They are well aware. Anything that comes to us, we can refurbish it. We will refurbish it. And if you bring it to us, we'll refurbish it in our land. They know whom we are. They know what we can do. So why do you think they will want us to be free? So that there will be Japan in Africa who will show others the way. But we are going to be that free by force. Because this article that I read opened my eyes a lot. They will never come to fight you. They will use somebody to fight you. Now, this is the time of alignment. So that when the time like that happen again, they will no longer be, or that's why we have media today. Because there will not be media propaganda to lie against us. There will not be secret supply of ammunition to lie against us. Everything will be now on the level ground. If Nigeria refuses to let Biafra go, everything is going to come on a level ground. Then we will know exactly who is God with and who is British with. God will be with us. British will be with you. Then we will know which power pass power. That's how it is going to be. And that is the reason why we are calling on every authority, international organizations, so that they don't need to say they will be bringing humanitarian. We want our freedom. Because having seen what I have read now, it is a pure indication that all the things that we've been saying to the world, they are nothing but the truth. And it provokes the situation the more. We're not backing down. We will get our freedom. regardless of who is in position of power. It is up to them to do the right thing, because we are asking for referendum. Asking for referendum is not asking for war. It is asking for peace. If you look at what happened, you see what happened in Ukraine, where Ukraine were destroyed, killing people in Donbass region, extrajudiciously. When Russia invaded Ukraine, it becomes, Russia used that as an excuse, because they were killing people in Donbass. So that is how it is. The way Nigeria is killing our people, up and down, punishing our people, jailing our people. If one day a force rise up, they will tell, what would be Nigerians' reason for killing our people. That's why we are asking for referendum, because we know what we are capable of. Referendum is the peaceful way. We are not asking for war until if need be. I am going to leave it here until we meet again. We continue to protect our peace. Bye for now.
I know the game they're playing. There was this stupid video that is in circulation. They can't attack ESN. They can't. They have no moral ground. But I'm sure they gave money to some idiots and gave them guns to say they are Biafran army. I don't know if the game they're playing. There was this stupid video that is in circulation. They can't attack ESN. They can't. They have no moral ground. But I'm sure they gave money to some idiots and gave them guns to say they are Biafran army. I don't know if they're up to 6 or 7 of them, which is a lie. It's a DSS creation. So they can have justification to say to Biden or the US ambassador, can you see they now have Biafran army? We can now move in to attack them. Anybody, if you are involved in that video, take a walk. You want to give Fulani Janjaweed the reason to invade our land. That's what you're doing. But we shall get to that later. Anybody involved in the circulation of that video is a gunner. I'm telling you the truth. And those that made it. That is how people behave, because they don't understand the game plan of the Fulani. People are very foolish. Fulani will come to you and want to use you, and you succumb because you have greed, envy, and jealousy inside you. Which one again is Biafran army? I'm asking you. From where? How many people? The day I will bring out the Biafran army, we number over 200,000 standing. Reserve is over 1 million. Some bunch of idiots somewhere, because you're serving your Fulani Janjaweed masters. We'll get hold of all of you. Check out Uno. We know the bad eggs when we see them. We warned people against voting for Buhari in 2015 when he was still alive. The same Buhari died in 2017. People, all of you know that Buhari is dead. Today he's young, tomorrow he's old. You see his hand is fresh today, tomorrow. Nobody knows who is who anymore. All of you are there, but because it's the turn of your village. Your brother is a senator. Your sister is a House of Reps member. You don't want to lose that money that is coming in every day. You come out on social media and you're talking rubbish all the time because you're a black person. You don't understand. There is something called economies of scale. Some of you cannot reason very well. You claim you went to school. Sometimes I wonder the type of lecturers you had in your useless schools that you went to. I wonder, honestly speaking. Because you and your family, you are benefiting. Somehow you think that life is okay for you. Because of the level, or should I say the poverty of ideas inside you. Any day your relative goes into the farm, the Fulanis will kill them. All you can do is to lament. Say things are bad, though, and you go and you sleep. And nothing is done about it. I am very, very grateful to Almighty Elohim. that the courage today that you have in Yoruba land is because of ESN. The courage of Amoteku to say no to Fulani is because of ESN. Because of Eastern Security Network. That is why they found the courage to say no to Fulani. If not, they will not do it. After all these years, without the coming, should I say all these months, without the coming of ESN,